So hey, skipping the preamble,
I want to talk about D&D races in my homebrew world.
the world of Fervin.
It's a special little place, full of lots of standard D&D things, but also the embodiment of chaos, so that's cool. I wanted to add some homebrew lore to the standard D&D races to account for that fun little fact, but it also made it so that my players have to discover things about the fantasy races that they wouldn't already know. Elves pretty and do magic, dwarves strong and make things.
Halflings are just human light. You get the idea.
I wanted to kind of expand on them a little bit, mostly for two reasons. I think Dragonborn could be cooler if they were more dragon, and by that I mean I wanted to stylize them so they were funner to draw. And also, I think the canon height for gnomes is down! They're taller than halflings! They're almost as tall as dwarves.
Wrong. Garden gnome. Kinku are also supposed to be taller than dwarves, they're supposed to be just shorter than humans, and that's nuts to me. So much like the terrible economy in D&D, I just changed it.
But how do we do this, right? Where to start?
My game started out as a purely vanilla world, and I changed and added things as I went. We're all creating stories as we go here, don't think you have to start out with your entire world fleshed out. I've been DMing for 8-9 years now?
And I've been playing in this homebrew world for at least 3. And just last year I added more flavor to the dwarves, halflings, gnomes, and goblins. Given most of these races aren't common on Fervin, except halflings, that's the second most common race in my world. But up until now, they were just running as standard.
Even still, they're mostly visual changes anyway. Rather than just being generally hairy, halflings have like tufts of fur on their wrists and ankles. And of course they have the big wide ears, but I also wanted them to be small and pointy rather than long and pointy.
I've decided they have unusually bright eyes and hair color.
Much like anime protagonists. Why? I don't know, I think it's fun and it looks cool. There are 2 halfling NPCs in my main campaign and I gave them both really bright colored hair, so I just decided, sure, it's natural. Gnomes are also a race that I redesigned solely for aesthetic reasons, but it was also one of the bigger design changes. So, they're kind of like rodents. My big design idea for these guys was making them like brownies from standard folklore. I think small creature that hides and fixes things or cleans was really fitting for how gnomes are written in D&D, tinkerers. Gnomes also have dark vision, so making them off of brownies, creatures that come out at night, felt really fitting.
So I shrunk them to be pretty much the smallest race, gave them big wide eyes, big ears, and terrible beaver genes.
I'm also a big fan of people drawing gnomes with fluffy little tails, so I threw fur on them too. I wanted to keep the cute garden gnome vibes, so I figured I'd throw that in more with their clothes, specifically the big pointy hats.
It's like a traditional thing. I haven't decided in what way just yet, but I think it's cute.
My most changed race, lore-wise, are probably the drow, orcs, or dwarves. But orcs didn't change a lot visually.
In my world, they are actually related to dwarves. They both have a common ancestor, the Tauren.
Huge creatures, sculpted out of stone, clay, mud, even bones. They can range wildly in size, from being no taller than a human to the size of a mountain. They're one of the origin races, designed by the embodiment of chaos that I mentioned earlier. They also eventually turned into goblins, trolls, orcs, and dwarves.
Orcs and trolls got all the tall genes, but trolls and dwarves are the only ones that are still brought to life through stonework.
And that's why dwarves are known blacksmiths and forge dwellers. They're sculpted from stone and magma, while trolls are made from clay. I wanted this origin to come through in their design, so the dwarves have almost scale-like rocks adorning their bodies, and veins that glow with like a cold fire. Also because of this, I wanted to give them what I'm calling forge-colored eyes. Then I wanted to touch on the whole beard lore about the dwarves, so I gave them literal manes that cover their whole necks and shoulders. These manes are a source of pride, and they don't usually cut them, much like elven hair.
I tried to justify the manes as being how they keep warm when they're not in the forge. I don't know, maybe the magma inside them is like frozen with magic or something. Maybe that's why they don't burn people. How do they enchant the magma, though? Where does that magic come from? Come on, you already know this one. Isn't there a whole class about creating magic through art and inspiration? Dwarves are natural bards.
Them and satyrs, but we already knew that part. Those guys live over in the Fey Isles with the elves and other Fey creatures. The elves were actually the first ones that I kind of touched up lore-wise.
I'm not really a fan of the fantasy elves are posh, full of themselves, and fantasy racist to everyone else. I think it's boring and also not fun. So I made my high elves just big-ass nerds.
They're all intense scholars for history, magic, and being attuned to nature. The High Elves are also a race that came from the original Chaos races, except I haven't named that one yet. I've just been calling them the original elves for right now, so...
I think there was a placeholder name, Eldrin, Eldryad, I don't know.
Essentially, living fauna, as elves and dryads come from the same ancestors. My High Elves are also tied to the nature around them. Specifically, they all resemble a season they're born into. The more attuned to it they are, the more it affects them. Isn't that just Eladrin, though, I hear you asking? Yeah, they're the same. I essentially made all my High Elves just Eladrin. Just some are more or less seasonal depending on how gifted they were at birth. Mostly just because the Eladrin are cool, but also because having the elvish designs all based on seasons was very striking and I liked it.
The current war general for the High Elves, don't worry about that part, is based on spring. So I gave him lots of pinks and greens and also made him very formal and pretty for mostly lore reasons. His name is Jurgen. Now, most elf names are wispy, light, or actually French if you play Final Fantasy XIV. But here they're apparently German. This is because one of my players made a mostly joke character named Johann, a very German half-elf, and he went, well, I don't know, what if he was related to the general? And I went, damn, what if he was related to the general? And so he was. As much as I can say that I made all of the lore in this world, more than none of it was created from playing with other people. It's why there's a city of robots and why there's a town named Honeywell. It's why the noble vampire families are so prevalent, or why drow have bug features. Why the Celestials can look like any race, or why there's an entire set of islands off the mainlands that nobody knows about. You did not hear that from me. And why we have a character that is basically time-traveling Jesus.
There's so much lore and world building in my game that was made in collaboration with my players from just playing the game. So ultimately, if you want to add more flavor and more unique lore to your game, just play it. Start adventuring in the grand stories and ideas and myths and lore. We'll come to you. Is that how that would be said? Datoren? Datoren? It feels wrong in my mouth. I might have to change it.